Hi everyone, this is Piotr from Auction News TV, a channel for property investors interested in property auctions. So today I've got with me Ross Brain.
Hi Piotr.
Hi Ross, and I've got Ross with me today because Ross is a property investor based in London who had the courage to actually go and start with buying in auctions without any prior knowledge of auction processes. I found his projects quite fascinating and found his journey quite fascinating. So I invited him to come and share a little bit about this with us today. Thank you for coming, Ross.
It's a pleasure.
And like I said, you had the courage to actually go and buy things in auctions, buy properties in auctions without prior knowledge.
Yeah.
And can I ask, what had you be interested in auctions?
Auctions are something that I've always been aware of as a place where you can buy commodities, be it a house, be it a car, potentially below the true value of that item. So I've always been aware of them as a concept, and in all honesty, it's probably the guilty pleasure of Homes Under the Hammer that drew me to it in a more property related way. But then it was really a very close friend, who pointed out to me that talking about buying properties at auction constantly and not taking any action wasn't really getting me to where I wanted to be. So it's sort of a combination of all those factors that drew me to the auction room. Initially, I went there probably 2 or 3 times, just to sort of get a feel for the environment and what goes on, how many people are there, and just to absorb the overall the feel of the auction room.
The process of how people are buying.
Buying a house at auction, or a flat at auction, or property at auction, you are going to be spending more money than you would be if you are buying a chest of drawers at auction or a car at auction. So I wanted to feel comfortable in that environment before I went there to actually buy.
Okay, great. And so what did you buy first after those 2 or 3 times when you checked out the auctions? What did you buy actually in your first auction?
The first auction that I purchased a house at, it was a sort of a 1970s 3-bedroom house in Streatham, in southwest London. Wasn't particularly much of a looker, but it just required what I would call a light refurb. So it was a new kitchen, it required new windows, new doors, a complete redecoration, new bathroom. So that was my first purchase, and I purchased that, refurbished it and sold it about 9 months later, making a profit on that. And then just before that refurb completed, I went back to the auction room and purchased my next purchase, which was a much bigger project in construction terms. So that was it was being marketed as a 2-bedroom flat. That was in East London. I describe it as a flat that's not really fit for hobbits. It was, when I purchased it, it was in a very, very rundown state.
So it's one of the
very low
lots.
ceilings, yeah, and in a very poor state of repair. And that project involved digging out the rear of the property to create more headroom in the rear of the property, in the kind of subterranean area, getting that tanked and waterproofed. I then did some demolition, knocked down a bedroom and extended out, so I had to get planning permission to do all of that, and then obviously do the complete redecoration and fit out once all those works were done.
Okay, great. So you bought a house and a flat, both needing modernization.
Yeah.
And how did you do with those projects? Did you make money?
Both of them I've made money on. So the first project, the Streatham house, was, by the time I paid off all my investors and so forth, I think I made somewhere between sort of 15 or 18,000 myself. So it wasn't, they weren't, change your life kind of figures, but it was my first refurb and it was a profit. The second one, the profit is significantly more. We're talking hundreds of thousands in terms of the profit that will have been made on that.
And what did you learn from those two projects? Like, what do you wish you had known before buying properties in auctions?
I think one of the most important things is to understand the auction room. So I've said that Homes Under the Hammer was perhaps a guilty pleasure of mine in terms of TV viewing, and what that does is bring to the auction room an awful lot of end user investors,
And
i.e.
inexperienced people who have expectations of.
Completely. There's a lot of people in the room there that are buying a property because they want to live in it and they want to get on the property ladder, and they are prepared to pay more than an investor would be prepared to pay because it's going to become their home. And they drive up prices in the auction room, and the auctioneer is a very clever conductor of that room. That's his purpose, is to get the highest price for the people that are selling in the auction. And it's very, very easy to get carried away in the bidding process, and you just have to be aware of the fact that you are bidding against a wide variety of people. The investors, the serious investors, will invariably drop out of the bidding process once they reach their limit. It's the end users and it's the inexperienced auction purchaser that will allow that bidding to carry on, and they will end up paying more for the property certainly than I as an investor would want to pay. That is completely fine if you're an end user and it's your home you are looking to buy and you're looking to hold it for a long time. But if you're doing a flip strategy, as I was at the time when I purchased those two properties, you have to be very aware of what the value of the property is and make sure that you don't pay more than you know you should be paying for it.
That's great. And what you're saying as well is the end users drive the price up for properties they want to live in, but there's some investors as well who tend to pay over the odds in the auction because of their investment in the whole process. They go to see the property, they have to appraise it, they have to spend money on solicitors, on legal costs, on surveys, and then after all of that property is available just at the kind of extension, like few £100, £1,000 or whatever, and they keep paying, and then they just so invested in the property they want to have it, and then it goes for a stupid price sometimes.
It's very easy to get emotionally attached to a property or to the bidding process, and you have to remember that, with one raise of your hand or one nod of your head, you are generally in auctioneer chunks of money. You're spending £5,000 every time you nod your head or put your hand up, and by the time that's been batted over to the person you're bidding against, you are effectively going up in £10,000 chunks. And so within the space of seconds, actually, you can spend close to £100,000. So discipline is one of the most important qualities to bring to the auction room as a purchaser.
Okay, great. And what will be your top tips for people who want to go into the auction and start buying?
I think one of the best tips would be look for the problem properties. So properties that if you're looking at leasehold properties, look for those properties that have short leases, that maybe don't have the Section 42 notice, which entitles you to extend the lease as part of the purchase process with that property. Those sorts of properties, a lot of buyers will be put off them because they present as a complicated purchase, but the reality is it's not that complicated to sort out a short lease. It is expensive, there is a cost involved in extending your lease, and you do have to be aware of that. But it is those types of properties where you will generally get fewer people bidding on them. There are also, if once you've done your due diligence, I used to go to auctions, I would probably on average view somewhere between 20 to 30 properties per auction. I would distill that down to a short list of somewhere between 10 and 15 the properties that I would be prepared to bid on at auction. And some of those properties would be unsold lots. So before I'd even maybe entered the bidding process, they would be, or if I'd withdrawn from the process, they would not sell because they didn't reach their reserve. And if you've done your due diligence on a property, if you understand, you know, the potential pitfalls that might be contained in the legal pack, then an unsold lot at auction can be a very remunerative lot to buy.
Okay, great. It's already like finding that difficult lots where you can sort out the problems and make money, and then also looking at unsold lots,
Yeah.
and then trying to sort out the problem that's there
That's really
that didn't have the property sold.
And one of the other big tips, and this is probably, everyone will say it, but it's very easy to miss, is look for the hidden charges in the legal pack. So it's not uncommon for a purchaser to charge, maybe 3 or 5% of the sale price, in addition to the auctioneer's commission. And those sorts of charges can, you might agree your price at, I don't know, say £300,000. There might be a 5% hidden charge on top of that. And when you're spending £300,000, 5% of that, although my math doesn't particularly enable me to do that here and now, it's a significant chunk of money. And you need to have thought about all those additional costs as part of your overall purchase investment.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Ross. I'm sure this is very much useful information for people who are looking to enter the auction process. So thanks for coming to do this interview. And Ross and will also be at the Property Auctions Mastery course, which is happening on the 18th of March in London. And I'll be running this course, and I'll be teaching all the things that you need to know to successfully buy and sell properties in auction and make good profits. So more information about the course is just at the link here. You can find out more and have yourself enrolled in the course. And that's it for today. And thanks very much for watching. I hope to see you on the course and in the next episode of Auction News TV.